Welcome everyone to another one of the Code Time Code streams. And a big thank you to the Grumpet for throwing out that I'm actually muted. As someone put that in chat, there we are. Oh, there we go. Yep, my mic was off. It was most certainly off. And thank you, Mr. Crumpet, that yes, I was indeed muted. It's going to be one of those. It's not a MonoGame stream if we've not thrown something under the bus. But anyway, I digress. Here we are again. So back to another Code Time session where we, the foundation, are putting ourselves in front of you, the community, laying ourselves down for you to answer questions and queries about what's going on. And also today we're focusing on the content builder solution or content project. We've not quite settled on a name. Suggestions in a post on a postcard. Send it in and you couldn't win a holiday to Barbados. Probably. I wish we could. And what this effectively doing is they were saying goodbye or trying to put a gravestone on the old MonoGame content builder editor project system and configuration. And the simple answer is that we just want to give you like next day's next day and a simple project, throw your content into it and have it build. No more difficult than that. Okay, take away all the problems of .NET tooling and versioning and a lot of crunch stuff that goes on and saves us a lot of nightmares. Basically makes things a lot simpler, a lot easier to manage. It's a different way of working. There are different things to look at about how you're doing this, but ultimately the same level of control and configuration is all there. It's just a different way of doing it. And hopefully as well, it should make debugging and other things simpler. And this is where I realized I didn't actually even put my phone on mute. See, there we go. Now that would have been fun. But anyway, let us go on. So the MonoGame stream is scheduled at the moment. We're upping the game, as it were, with what we're out there doing and putting in front of everyone. As ever, we've got the monthly open hours, which was a week after our board meeting, where we tell you where we are, what we're up to, how the funding's going, what new projects are going, and usually get a spotlight on some new create or showcase what someone else is going on. Not sure who we're lining up this week, but we stay tuned. It should be exciting, as ever. We have a new weekly shed stream, which is normally this session, which is the Code Time, which is every week. Tom or one of us is usually streaming some active work or going on behind MonoGame. You get to see the full behind-the-scenes tour, what we do, how we build, and also how you're getting on with what is going on. The university is running every Thursday, so this is where we're going through a lot of MonoGame tutorial content. At the moment, the series is on the 2D tutorial, going through step by step, answering everyone's questions, especially for beginners, on what you need to then start building your game and architecting, writing, building out code and what you're doing. So, and obviously, we're still looking for more. You got an idea for a stream? It's something that you're in desperate need. I'm likely to do more of these little pop-up sessions where we're doing different features of things, possibly even running another university stream alongside it for a different topic. But we'll keep going and try to keep times, as it were. So the current two main streams are the university, which is every Thursday, and Code Time, which is normally every Friday, unlike today where we're just popping up and jumping in. So without further ado, let's go on to the subject of today. So, content with any game, whether it's MonoGame, whether it's Unreal, whether it's Unity, or even Godot, or whichever one you're doing, managing your content is always a very tricky process. Yes, you can get files, put them in your project, reference them, and just have them work, and just print into the screen, no problem. You can have your own custom library for loading audio, different ways of doing sprites and things like that. Lots of options out there. But generally speaking, that when you're building your project, if you're managing the content yourself, what you'll find, as we in the foundation find out regularly, is that once you take the old game to another platform, they have a different way of working. If you take it to Android, the compression ratios, how images are handled, you have different audio formats. Go to IS, similar issues. Once you get to consoles, the problem gets even harder to try and manage and try to do things on your own. So this is where the whole idea of the content pipeline or content project comes in play. So with the content pipeline, what MonoGame is doing for you is it gives you a place where you can register and store all your assets. There's no different to any other engine or framework out there. You're putting your content in only in one place. You can have more than one. It's completely up to you. We don't restrict you in any way. Once you've got things into your project, you're setting them up, you're doing different scaling, different options, you're having extensions and extensions there to have way different customized behaviors for. So for instance, you might like a tile map, and it's like, well, I want to use these images for the tile map, and I want to order them this way. And you actually have a process of importing them, which generates them in a format which is usable by your game. The 2D tutorial shows this, several others do, lots of different ways. I think I've done videos on also doing localization, so that at build time you can build it for localization, or having localizable libraries compiled into a way that your game understands, or different ways to import XML and other sort of things. And then just case of you're going to compile it, you're going to build it. So I'm going to build for Android, right? Package all this content, compress it in a way that's compatible to the format, and ship it with your game. It's there copied, put in with it, packaged up. That's your game with that content for that platform. Everyone's good. And then finally, then at runtime, all you're simply going to do is say, right, well, I need image X, I need sound effect Y, I need this background music playing, and your game just pulls it from the content system at runtime. Nice and easy. But where we're running into problems, especially what we're going to focus on today, is this whole point about the actual project or the area where your content is currently placed. Today, that's the process of what we call, or lovingly call, is the MonoGame Content Editor. This is arguably really just a configuration file. It mimics what XNA does in how it structures and organizes your content. It says, right, these are audio files, these are different things. It gives you templates for different types of content. It allows you to either copy content from someone else and managing it so it's in your local project, or it creates a reference to where it might be living on your system. Bear in mind, obviously, that's per project. If you have your content in different places, it can be a nightmare. Simply because if there's more than one developer, or you've got several artists, your content's everywhere, and everyone has to have it in exactly the same way for that kind of system to work. One of the biggest issues we have, and it's been over the lifetime that this tool's lived, is that it is a .NET tool. Initially, in sort of the early 3.8 days, it was a global tool. So you had one version of this editor running on your machine. If you didn't have it, things went badly. And that was a hard limitation, because then what we found is that some studios that had several different projects at several different stages, each doing different things, each requiring different requirements. So having a global tool didn't work because one project was using 3.8, another one was using 3.2, another one, for whatever reason, had to use something in between. One tool didn't work, so we changed it in round through the 3.2 cycles to being a local tool, which means you're not having one per machine, you're having one per your project. And this solves a lot of problems. Well, there is the rub. You solve one problem and several other snakes come up to bite you and make your life hell. And this is the problem we've had with having .NET tooling extensions and facilities within it. While the content editor works, it works on Mac, Linux, and Windows, it didn't work the same on all. And updating and maintaining this over time wasn't done the best. And we admit it as a foundation. This is something we didn't invest enough time with, and it's now got to a state where it works most of the time, but that's not great. That's not a good experience for you, the customers, and for you developers who are actually using this. You expect it, a case of like, I want to start it up and load it. When we had the 3.8.4 launch, we hit all the numerous issues because the templates were looking at the most latest public version. The .NET tooling was looking at a specific version. It created, if you then upgraded, it created a mismatch. And you can see where this is going. It's just making more and more pain. Add to this that when we have extensions, so obviously the pipeline supports extensions, custom ways where I can change how things are built. I can use different shaders for a different effect. So I can have different ways of sorting it, or having a file which says, right, get all this content packaged together. There's my like skybox or something. There are loads of these extensions out there in the community, all doing different things. The MonoGame Extended package has several, especially for working things like tiled. And the problem is, if you had a problem or if you didn't configure something quite right in your asset and it's using an extension or you're loading in your project, things break. And when things break, debugging or trying to diagnose what's wrong with your content or your extension or some part of your code that's loading became a nightmare. We added tools to sort of enable it, so you can add debugging into it, but invariably that created a problem, because if it was the problem was your content, so a file was corrupt, an XML file was not constructed right, and so it had, when MonoGame was pulling it in, it was actually failing inside the internals of MonoGame, and this created another nightmare because you couldn't debug that easily. You had to go back, get the MonoGame source for the builder, build it. It was no good. The debugging experience itself as well is a nightmare, even for us. And we're building and testing these things every day, and it's just anyway. So the announcement, it says it had to go, or something had to be done, and this is where one of the foundation members, Harry, who took it upon himself to actually go and build what we'd all been dreaming of, is a different way to approach this, which didn't have as many dependencies, didn't have as many problems, and also could be more open and a lot easier to use, especially when it comes to debugging with extensions. We listened, we looked at the feedback, we worked on this, and this is what we have today now. So working on the new content project system, or content builder, name pending. But effectively now, we've done away with tools, we've done away with config. It's a regular .NET console project. You compile it, you run it, it builds your content. You don't embed your content in it, although as you'll see when we walk through this and we set one up, it's a case of you need to have you've got a tool that you control, you build, how it affects your content. You tell it where your content is, and it will just go and build it and compile it, get it ready. You can then control the compiled content. Do you want that built with your game? Do you want it to ship separately? Do you want to do different things? Again, it's a lot more freedom, not being locked down. And also, one of the common complaints is that, especially with extensions, it's a fixed path to wherever the extension is. If you wanted to debug that extension, you then have to change config. Again, problems. So with this being just a regular console project, debugging it is a breeze, because it is just a project. You set breakpoints. You might have seen in some of the Tom streams where we actually have you can just introduce a debugger break, and then it'll stop. Wait for you to attach a debugger, and then you just debug through, or you can have it connected on the time. Again, completely up to you. And a common question we have is then extensions. Now, extensions aren't just .NET projects. And with that, you can either just add them as a simple reference. You can, if it's your own extension, you can copy code inside the content project. So it's just code with your building your content, or there could be new packages, because it is just a .NET console project. You can reference things however you want. One of the things as well we like to focus on, is we're not sitting still. So this is early days. I will stress it is early days. It builds, it's being used with all of our current modern samples that our patrons and supporters as well have access to. It's building the content there. We are effectively dog fooding all this, so that as we're adding content, as we're finding problems, we're making fixes and changes. And now as we reach 3.8.5, this is where we reach out to you, because we've only got so many projects, even with all the resources we have. We've only got so many, so we need you out there testing this, doing it, playing with your projects, trying it out. And one of the sort of things which has not made the cut for 3.8.5, but it is promises, we'll also have what we define as a content server. And what a content server is, instead of having to keep building it, is that your content actually becomes a runtime project. As you change the content, it gets updated, and your game uses it. So your game talks to the server for getting all the assets, and then the server goes and looks at the content. If things changes, it updates it in real time, and your game has it. Fantastic for debugging. No doubt even better for shaders. When I was doing the 2D shader tutorial, having that automatically reload where you're just tweaking and change it without having to rebuild, repackage, reship, it is fantastic. So that's not there yet. It is working, but we're not sort of publicizing because we're still greasing the gears. But maybe we'll give out more details in a future update. So when we've talked about the content project system before, when it was shown in an open house session some months ago, and whenever we fielded questions on the Discord and things, a lot of the common questions that came out is like, are we starting a new project? As you will see today, no. You can if you want, but since the new templates don't have the content project system in it, you're going to have to add these manually anyway. But it's very simple. It's just a case of set up a project, move your content over, change any settings you need for actual how you build content, which again we'll go through, and have it running. No, I forgot. I also put the answers on these slides. So no, it's just a project. You add to your solution, and you're simply moving your content over to that, stopping using the old content editor system. Will this affect my existing extensions? No, or not directly at least. So today, when you use extensions, you have to have it a project, you compile it, you're going to have a DLL, and then that DLL is punched to in the configuration. Now all that's happening is that you're changing how you're consuming it. It just becomes a reference in the Content Builder project. I'll highlight that, although we won't really showcase that today. But it is simply a case of if the code is available in your project, it will build, and then the actual system will use it as a reference. Bear in mind, you still need to have a reference to that extension in your runtime code so that the builder knows how to compact it. You need the same extension in your runtime project to then read it back. It's sort of like playing Chinese whispers of, this is how I'll pack the content. Right, this is what you need. Same kind of process. We're not changing anything, and all existing extensions will continue to work. And can I build my MonoGame project without rebuilding content? Now, also, this is something that was very tricky to do today with Content Editor, but no, it's a completely separate project. If you wanted to build with your project, you can. If you want to simply be able to leave your content alone and just rebuild your code without changing the content, again, that is completely feasible. We'll show you some little tricks of the trade you can do now to make that possible, and whether you want it bound or you're not. Again, it's completely up to you. We're trying to make this as open and as accessible as possible. Can it be automated? This was almost front of mind when we were building the solution. Of a common issue and complaint is that bigger studios with larger content, developers aren't building on their machines as such. When they're going to go and ship the game or going to do out, they have automation. It goes off, builds their code, and then they've had to put complex processes in to try and get the content compiled and get it up so you can change it. And it was not good. But again, this is just a .NET project. Like any other project, you can have within the same pipeline for when you're building your code, or as a separate one for the building content. It's completely separate. And also by the fact means that you can also, once you've defined how you build content, you give the exe to your artists who are going away building what they want, and they can test. Does it build? And they're simply running a command, and it builds and it ships and whatever it's doing. But ultimately, it's a case of it's a separate offline tool. You can integrate it, you can't. It's up to you. Will this make your life easier? Now, that is our hope and intention, and then this is where we need your support. So we want this to be the cleanest and most easiest to use solution going. Because it's MonoGame and because it's C#, there's still a little bit of learning you'll need to know for how you do it, because it's no longer just tick a flag or change an option because I can see it here. You'll now programmatically define your content. So Tom showed when he was in the Ascent game stream on Friday, where he was changing the scale or some of the attributes, or changing how the content was imported, changing which importers were used. You're doing this programmatically and saying, right, this is what it is. But it's all in there in code, easy to do. And I would no doubt in my mind that some of our community members are going, maybe I could build an editor for the project, which you can. We're not going to stop you. Feel free. Anything you can do to make developers' life easier, that is our intention. Away with tools with bad mismatching configuration, problems with trying to importing, causing errors that you can't explain when you load the project. Away with it all. Easy, simple way to make games. We want the content to go with our games. It should be as easy as pie. Pie. Need a game. Can anyone make a game with eating pies? There's Tavern Keeper. We can have drinks, but not pies. I'm going off the rail here. So now, as we're coming up, this is what to expect. So we've talked about the system. We're going to showcase what it is and go through all the steps that we need to actually get it working. But there's a caveat. I don't say a caveat. There's more things to remember with this. Now, in 3.8.5, the content project, the new Vulkan platform, and DX12 are going to be preview releases. Now, what we're really meaning there is that not that you could stop you. There's nothing to prevent you actually doing this, but it's not intended for production releases. So you should still use your existing tools and things you're using for your actual real life projects, but these should be a test. That said, if it's working for you, we're not going to stop you. If you have issues and you raise them with us, we'll try to address them as quickly as we can. But there's no SLAs or guarantees in this. It's a case of if someone's available and has time to work on it. The MonoGame is, as ever, we're bound by our funding support. So like with the stream, it's a case of if you're liking what we're doing, like and subscribe. If you're on Twitch, then hit that bell and give us a follow and help and support, or go to the donation pages and help us. The more resources we have available to us, the quicker and easier we can address these things. And test everything. This is what we want. You know, we've done it with the Ascent project, with all of our new 3D samples and our 2D samples. I do have a task, fun as it is, to go up and update all the 3.8.5 samples to use the new content project system, because again, to road test those projects we use for testing the framework, and we're going on more. But as there's infinite machines out there, is the consoles, can you compile it and run it on for Steam Deck or Switch or whichever project you're doing? What can we do to make this process as seamless and easy as possible? This is where we need you, our community. You're testing it out, trying to make your lives easier. If you're hitting friction, if there's something you don't like, if there's something you think could be made easier, come tell us. I'd like to say that there were prizes for any bugs and issues found. No. If we had funding, maybe if we had everything else out there, and lots of things to be able to throw out, lots of merch, all we can promise is a pat on the back, and if you can go to the store, you can get a t-shirt or a nice cap. No hats today. But anyway, that's the first part of the show. So let's have a quick see if there's any questions. That's neat. I like it. I love. Thank you, guys. That's brilliant. Hopefully you'll be astounded. You'll see more. So let's switch over to me. Haha. There we go. Sorry, I'm. There's no progress on the Millennium Falcon, I'm afraid. I've not had time. I'm still working on it, and I've not turned the lights on. I'm not going to do that now. If I haven't done it before, then I'm not going to do it now. That is the rule. I shall have to make sure when I do the university, that's what we're going to do. But anyway, so there you go. Lots of QR codes and things thrown on the screen, just in the middle. All to say, support the stream if you like what you're seeing and you want to help us out. That's the quickest and easiest way. If you can help support us in other ways, great. If not, we're not going to hold against you. MonoGame is an open source framework and will forever remain free. But to accelerate it, we do need the help of our community. Any road. Let us get on with the show. So look, there's my desktop. At least I'm going to look over here now. So what we're going to do here today is that I'm actually going to go and use, this is the MonoGame samples repo. So this is the same repository we use for all the samples. So here we got the autocomp things. What we've also got in here are tutorials. More importantly, our 2D tutorial. Yes, we're doing this in the university. We're doing it here, but we're going to jump to the end. We've got our game. It's a finished project. We're going down here to the conclusion, and I'm going to open this up. And here we are. Right, okay, and I need to remember, nope, to make my screen bigger. Good. My poor old eyes, and also for the stream, you can see clearer. And this is what you expect from a current project today. So here we are, and you've got your game project with everything that's going to in this platform. It's got its content. If you're planning ahead, and this is what we're going to be covering this week's university, is creating a game library to compartmentalize your code to make it more reusable. But that's in 2 days' time. I'm not doing that now. But here we have standard project. This is also what you get in like any .NET new MonoGame project, whether it's desktop GL, Windows, whichever. And we have our content project, and as you can see here, if you get this there, this is all the content project file is. It's a bunch of configuration. If I go and open the editor, then create out, yeah, it's working. There's all my content, a nice graphical editor. Now we'll note there is one thing that is not included in this release, but again, this is where we need feedback to do. So the old content project system, if I do add new item, we have a bunch of templates. So it gives you a clean sprite batch compatible effect file, or we've got a sprite font descriptor, sprite effect, sprite font descriptor. Well, I've got two. There is a reason why I got two sprite fonts. I can't remember. Oh, it's localized. That's why. Or XML. These templates don't exist today, so it's down to yourself to be able to create your content how it is. But obviously, we've always found these templates very limiting. So again, from a feedback perspective, what templates should there be? Because .NET gives us tools and capabilities so that we can do like a .NET new and add a template, quick and easy. But what to have? We don't want to have too many. We don't want to have too few. Or it might be a case of you don't need them at all. But this is always something that helps, especially new beginners. What do we need? When it comes to content and assets, it's the same. You're dragging and dropping it in. But anyway, there's our project it is today. There's our content. Now, when we're looking at this and we're simply going to do a content builder project, we do actually have, for those who've got the 3.8.5 templates installed, an existing template. So in my here, I'm going to go .NET new MGCB, and I'm going to call this content. Whoops, no. Oh, content. So this is a brand new console project, pre-filled with the content build stuff. But I will warn you, this isn't what it is today. This was our first pass when we put the content project system into the pipeline. It's not there yet, but by the end of the stream, we're going to improve it. And in here, what we had is, you had your standard entry points. There's your program. There's your content definition of this is how I'm going to build content. But we've moved on. We've improved. Thanks to the likes of when we've been dogfooding with the Ascent and the platform system, we're improving this. So I'm going to update it for this project. And then towards the end of the stream, I'm actually going to go back and update the actual template and then put that into the next development release. So when you use it, hopefully, you'll see something better. So what we've done now is that we actually say, create an actual project, a folder in your content builder system for where assets going to be. Now, you don't have to have checked in. It just needs, this is only so that when we're building a project, this is where our content lives. We can say, this is here. This is the root of where my content is. If you want to move around, you can do. This is not fixed, I will say. And we'll go, whoops, no, not there. Go back to here, and I'm going to create a builder folder. And this creates a distinction in your actual content project of this is the code I need to build content. This is the place where I'm going to have assets. And all will become a little bit clearer. Let's get rid of that because we're trying to get rid of you. So what I'm going to do, first and foremost, is we're going to collapse this now. We don't need both a program and a content collector because it can just be one file. And I'm even going to rename this big old builder. This is just a static entry point for any console app. This is what's in there. And then I'm going to take this, and I will explain more about this in a minute, but I'm just going to copy it over for now because I'm also going to clean it up because it's not great at the moment. Yes, we know you can't see it right now, and I'm even going to delete that. Be gone. So now we've got our builder project and content. Now, obviously, we've got lots of content reference issues here because this is an old template. And also, you can see it's still got a .config. We don't want that anymore. That is going to go away. We don't need it anymore. Be gone. We'll come back to update the project later. I like deleting stuff. And in here, you can see that currently it's using like the public. It's a .NET 9 project still, which we kind of recommend, but it's not mandatory to do. We're still testing things out. 3.5 we're hoping will be .NET 9 compliant just for client projects. MonoGame itself still .NET 8, but for client projects now. Now what we need to do is we need to update this to the latest and greatest. So we need to use, well, now the two references we've got here, the .native project there, you might have seen in the announcements a while back, especially for library developers, is that if you're having content which relies on the API but is not going to run code because your code is run by the actual project, but you still need to reference what the API service is, we recommend to use this .native package. And also most importantly is include this private assets definition, which simply means use this DLL as a reference, but don't copy it. I just need to know what the code is. I don't need to run it. Running will be done by something else, essentially. So we're going to use the .12 release, and also we're using the content pipeline. You'll notice there's no net framework here because we're on. This is a pipeline project, nothing else. Very simple, right? And we don't need, but it's nice to go back to my terminal, and I'm going to. Nope, that won't work. Now I did fix my. Okay, so let's go back to here now. I don't need you. Now why? Okay, why are you not? Why do I keep doing spaces? Come on. Great. That's being a pain now. You're supposed to be hiding. You did this to me last time. Okay, let's do this again. Oh wait, because it. Simplest mistake. I've added a project. It's not part of my solution. It doesn't know the code, so it's not compiling it. So in VS Code, we can go down here and we can go add existing project to our solution, and we need to add our content project. Sometimes I'll forget my head, and if we do that, good, right. That's what I expect. Oh, fool that I am. Thought I did not copy enough. Because I've only copied that. Now, I have the code saved here. Fool that I am, I did not copy enough. Again, this will not be a problem because by the end of the stream, we're going to actually build this template so that it's the real thing. So when you're doing it, it's going to be easy. Right, and we also don't need all this because we were experimenting and we're putting stuff in different places. And I explained more about this as we go on. I've called this builder, so I need to. I've actually going to say you a builder and also. Right, let's collapse that. We can talk through this now. So, lots of remarks and comments. I'm going to keep those in. What this is doing is two things. So we have an entry. This is a file. It's in the .NET style projects. It's any file that has no comments or no programs or classes is your entry point. It's the first class it comes to, and it's where it starts making your project. You might see this in some of the newer content project templates, where you just have a file which has nothing in it. It just has usings and definitions. And this effectively is the entry point for the program. So this is the first thing it sees and runs. And in here, we're setting our working directory, so where content is built from. Now, this is wrong at the moment because I need to change it to this. Because again, this was, we were testing, we were playing, it was doing as part of the solutions. So this sets a path from where the content's built to the root of your project. From there, it's going to look. We're then going to have a source directory of where content is coming from. Now, we've named ours assets, not content, and we're going to put that there. And then also the platform. Now, again, like the old content project, when you're building content, you need to tell it what you're building it for. So, am I building it for Android? Am I building it for Windows? And you can change this. But we were going to evolve this too. This is standalone at the moment, and this is almost hard-coded. But we don't like hard-coding. So this basically now is the content project it's going to build. It's going to build whatever it's running. Now, what it's building, this is where it gets a bit more interesting. So in here, we have our content builder setup, which is inheriting from the content builder class. So this is our own definition to say, this is what we're building. Or whatever you want in here, but what it critically needs is this, is the content collection. This is you telling it what to include. Now I think, oh, I've got loads of content, loads of assets, I've got audio and things everywhere. Why? No. Because by default, okay, we create a collection, and then we're going to fill that with everything it finds within that assets folder. All the text files, all the WAV files, and by default, it will use what are the default content importers and content processors for that content. And that is exactly the same, 100%, as it is in the old content editor at the moment. So when you dragged in a WAV file, it became a sound effect. If you dragged in an MP3, it became a song, or an OGG file. If you dragged in a texture, it became a texture 2D. All of that is done by default. So if I get rid of that, and it's most basic, that is all I need. And this is what the template will have. So from grassroots, when you add a content project system, you start putting your content in this assets folder. It will just build everything that's in there. No configuration, no settings, no change. If you just want defaults, this is all you need. If only life was that simple. But I digress. So I can build this now. To build it, rebuild. Got closure. And if I go to my content folder, run just like any other project, I can run it, and it's going to fantastically build all of my no content. Because we don't put anything in there. Everything is still in the old Dungeon Slide content project. Right, before we add some content, let's see, are there any questions in the stream already? Andre, we love you to be here, and you're joining at what is the most opportune time. Chris's tutorial is actually on. I don't know what that is. Chris, who actually wrote the 2D content, is actually on the stream. I spotted him jumping in. He curses me when I do go off script. But you're joining most exciting time. The tutorial will go through everything you need to know. And what we have here, well, then is going to further extend it. You can play with it if you want. It's not mandatory. At the moment, it's going to be chuck and cheese. You can try this, you can try that. But stick with the tutorial, go through it. And if you have questions on the tutorial, by all means, join the stream on Thursday, and you'll get all the latest and greatest of what we're showing. And I don't know what a barbecue chicken alert is. Maybe I'm not young enough. Okay. Let's see now. MonoGame friend is a friend, not an engine. Yeah, that's true. We don't have any editors out of the box. We just have stuff, and we give you code and frameworks to build. But then that's where the community comes in, and they give you loads more. There are engines built on top of MonoGame. There are tools, libraries, everything you need to accelerate your project, more so than I've seen in most other places. Yes, we don't have an asset store because everything's free. Support your community. Open source doesn't mean I can rip it and free. So if you're using something and what you're using makes you money, also help and support those who helped you get there. And yes, very if you look at our showcase or look at the thing, there are many great titles. Stardew Valley, and yes, in TNT, Shredder. I love that game. I love a little hack and slash and bash. If Golden Axe was made today, it would be made in MonoGame, no doubt. And I'd love to see that. Yes, you are, Chris. You are here. We know you're here. You're being called out. But anyway. And Mr. Elm, do I have to contain content project for each voucher? No. We'll get this off the bat. So this here, okay, so yes, right now this is hard-coded, just building for desktop GL. Well, this is an enum. So you could, if you wanted to. Oh, I've built it from those. Auto-complete. I can then change it. This is then hard-code for Android. But as we go on, I'm going to show you. This is a console app. Console apps you can pass arguments to and override or change what this platform is, which we will do. So bear with us. We'll show you how to more, and even also how you can link it to your game project to do what you do today, which is build game, build content, using all the settings and properties that come from your project to tell you games. So if you want to build for Android, it'll build the Android content. If you want to build for iOS, it builds iOS. If you want to build for Xbox, it builds for Xbox. We shall see more. It's enough questions. Thank you all. Keep them coming. Don't hold back. If you have a question, ask, and we shall get to it when we get to it. But right now, let's get some content in. So all of our content is still living here now. Let me make this bigger over here. Yes. Over here in our content project. So here's our audio, effects, things. I recommend. So I've got to, Gary, you've done this twice now. You made me giggle. Yes, I'd love it to run on Atari. If we could get MonoGame to run on Atari, we can get MonoGame to run on an excellent Pi, on a Raspberry Pi. Dean has shown this, and it's fantastic. It's not everything. It's not. There are things to work out, but MonoGame can run on Raspberry. It runs on whatever you want, and that, like any other project, how you scale your content, how you change your assets to fit the platform, and this is also what the content pipeline does for you. If you're working on something that's really low down, then you compress and have all your content low down, or you can change content how you want to do for different platforms. In next and days, what you had generally had is that if you had to run a Windows Phone and run on the Xbox, you'd have two copies of your assets, and you make sure when you do an Xbox build, it pulls the Xbox version. If it's a phone, then it pulls the phone version. Or, if you're sneaky, you can have an extension that did it for you. Just saying. But anyway, we've got our content, and there's my doorbell. I don't know what it is. The dogs are going to shout now. I apologize. And Alexa's going to tell me that someone's at the door. I'm not going to answer that. But anyway, I'm going to save my audio. I'll put it into my assets folder. Okay, you should see it there. Is it dragging and dropping? Come on. Why is it not dragging and dropping? Okay, that's... Oh, idiot. That's the Solution Explorer. Collapse, go away. Right, let's try this again. Right, I'm going to try my content project. The Solution Explorer, like the Visual Studio Explorer, is great for looking at code and working with things. It's not great for when you're working like this. So, audio into my assets. And I'm moving it. I should have said don't ask me again. And I'm going to move my effects. Don't ask me again. My fonts. And my images. If you want to copy over your content file, you can do. The pipeline will ignore it. It just says, in fact, sorry, let's do that. We're doing something. We're copying all. So our list, we've copied the contents of this, not the compiled folders, because they, like I said, this as it stands will build everything. If you have a bin folder in object folder, it will try to build what's in the bin and object folder, and you'll get a lot of junk and garbage. I know, I did it. I then slapped myself in the face. Don't do it. learn from my mistake. Not bothering on this project now. So here's our content project. All I've done is copy the content in. I've not changed. Okay, let's go back to desktop GL. Not that it really makes any difference at this stage, but I'm going to put it back to desktop GL. Yes, you can build for Vulkan. Okay. And I'm going to see. There we go. Now, you notice I'm not building it again. I don't, because it's already built for it is. But no, I did change it. I changed some code. If you change code in your content project, then you need to rebuild the exe that's going to build your content. If you're adding any new extensions, obviously you need to build the exe that's going to do. Once it's built, you don't need to. You're just going to do this. You're going to do .NET. Come on. And this is when they make bigger. And look at that, lots of red. But I'll explain the red. The red is important. The red is interesting. And we'll see why. So if you look through here now, it's gone, right, desktop GL, I'm doing high def, all the default options. You can change these, as with anything else. We default to high def now because it just makes sense. Even mobile phones these days, the graphics shifts are far beyond what was the original reach. One thing we'd still like to get to is changing how these graphics profiles work to make them more modern. They just don't make sense anymore, but time, effort. So I've got invalid context section. Now I'm seeing the error as I'm building it, so I can see what's going wrong. And right, here's one of the things we need to fix in the template. So it's trying to build audio. Now, the content if I look at the content project here and go here, this is just so you know all the stuff we have to deal with. Now, this package, the MonoGame content pipeline, if I can show you. This is what we like to do in CodeTime. We show you everything behind the scenes, what's going on. So if I look at the monogame.framework content pipeline, not C#, don't be silly. There, and I'm going to open this up. So this is what your project sees when it opens it. Is that there's all the content, the runtimes, there's a lot of dependency and things. But building content, I will stress, is complex. Because different platforms, different frameworks handle content differently. So for that, we leverage all the open source packages. So, and I kind of make text bigger. Oh, text size, large. They're large. Handle things differently. So we leverage other open source projects like the FreeType project, FreeImage, Basis, Crunch, and also FFmpeg and Probe. So these handle the processing of content. We, in the background, change what those arguments are, depending on the platform, to do compilation, do the things differently. But we rely on these. Now, they're in the package, but you can't find it. The reason for this is a lovely thing, and I've not got that page open, is that in .NET 9, the Microsoft framework made a change. And what this change effectively means is that this package is a dependency of this project. I shall reference everything in here that is my dependency. If that package has another dependency, so all of this lot, yeah, I'm only going to take like the bits. I'm only going to take the main bits. I'm not going to take the other bits that are important. And those are the bits that are falling down. So this is something we know about. We need to change how these libraries and things, and that, again, as those will know, making changes to call things like this is not something you do lightly. So we have to go through testing, changes. But it doesn't stop us, because while we know that those are a problem, what we can then do is say, right, fine, .NET, if you're not going to reference those projects for me, I'm going to simply put them in there. And again, this is going to go in the when we update it, this is going to go in the template. You don't need to do anything. And all we're really doing is saying, right, I'm building content. I need all these tools to build content and everything that comes with them, please. You might know we're a little bit frustrated about how this changes. It's caught a lot of people off guard, because you'll notice with the editor, this doesn't have this problem because all of this has been packaged into it, but we have to do a lot of stuff to do that. again, it's going. Its days are numbered, although it's still not going. So we've added some new references to our project. We're going to build it. We get some other little warnings because, well, no. Well, we can ignore those. They are just warnings. Oh, no, not build. We want to run. So now we're going to go and build our content, and most of those errors are going to be gone. But no, we still have errors. Please bear with me. Now the magician has to work hard here. So we've handled how we can handle content. So now all of our audio is being imported. So you can see that this bounce file is using the WAV importer and using the sound effect. This theme was an OGG file, so it's using the OGG import and song processor. Everything happens for you automatically if it's a default. Here's a shader. We're going to build that. If there's a font, we're going to do that, but then we're going to say, you'll see these things here now, import and not found. And the reason for that is those are not native files, and they weren't native in your original project. If we continue on, we have the same again. We have issues with this XML. So by default, if you put an XML file into your content project, strangely enough, MonoGame is going to try and read that. And there is a specific format for XMLs. And I'm just chatting, I'm coming back to the death. If you had a strict way you defined it, I think I've done streams on this before, where you had an XNA content root class, it would actually build classes for you, or at least populate classes for you based upon that content. It's very useful, unless you want to do something different. So what we find is that if I get rid of that now, if I look at, I've copied it in our content project, and you'll see there are some things here. They've actually said we're going to copy this file, not build it. So, like in the old content system, we simply need to tell the builder it's the same today. So we want to copy these files, and there's a few of these here. So we've got our XML files, and all we're simply going to do, if I go to our builder, we got our content collector, right? After you've imported, if you import everything that's going to be built, so this is like building a catalog or filling your shopping basket, put everything in. After this, we can simply then start to say, if it's an XML file, then I want to do it. So what I'm going to do is we're doing a content include. Oops. And what we're going to do is say, right, now this is how you can choose how you're managing on content or not. So at the moment, I could just put in start.xml. So every XML copied. Now I might have a project where some of them are still using the default importer, but these ones I just want copied. So I like to be a bit more descriptive. It does add more config, but it allows you to control more what's going on. So in the images folder, if you see an XML file, I want you to copy it. There. Now we've also got the same with these font files. So there's a couple here where it's a .fnt file, because how they're being loaded in the game is different. They're using, I think, using different tools and ways of actually reading this in. So where it's not using a default processor thing, we need to make sure that they're also following the same thing we did before, we're just copying it. Where are we? Now the fonts are in the fonts folder. There's a few of these. There's a TTF and there's an FNT. So a FNT file, we want FNT. And there's also a top file now. This one, realistically, what we're saying is we don't want to. We don't need to include it. Now, if I look at, again, no, wrong one. If I find that file, I think at the moment what it's doing is external content, logo. If it finds something it doesn't recognize, it simply does nothing. So you never have to worry about, but if you suddenly find something missing, you find out why. And I can't see it. Where is it? There you go. So it's found the TTF file. And what it basically says is, I've got no import. I don't know what it is. I won't do anything. So I have two choices here. I can actually strictly exclude it, or I can just leave this that. In fact, I'm going to leave it that way for now. So now we've handled these two XML files. We've handled this FNT file. So I'm going to back here. I'm going to build it because I've changed how I'm processing content. And then I'm going to do one. And once it is working the way that you want to work, you never have to touch it again. All you're doing is simply run. Just go build content. You have full control of how your project works. If you have an extension, I either create a folder in here, I simply copy the code into here, and I write my extensions, or it's a case of down here in my content, I'm going to add a reference, and that could be to a NuGet package where I've got my extension populated. It can be the frameworks. It's completely in your control. You have every power in this now. No tool or editor is going to stop you now. So if I look at this now, everything's green. So all the content now is working and it's being built. Now, as it stands, all that's doing is building it in the content project. This is its own content project. It's building it where it's been. So if I look in here, go into bin, content, there's all my built files. I can then, if I'm doing automation, then what I can do is I can take it from that folder and put into take my build of my project, slap them together. That's what I ship. Fine for automation and building, but let's use this in our project. Let's recreate what we have here today, and also we're going to make this project also work more like a console app. So, like as someone asked before, yes, it's hard coded. Right now, I'd have to create different versions of different platforms. We don't want that. So, what we're going to do is this is a console app. So, we're going to listen to see if I'm running this console app with arguments. If there's arguments, then use the arguments. If I don't supply any arguments, use my default configuration. And the default can be whatever you want it to be, doesn't matter. But also a case of, because we also want to use this automation, then rather than just falling out, then we also want to say, okay, we can get rid of this now because we're doing another. If we fail for whatever reason, then we also then get back in error code. And again, you have full control. If you want to change what errors are found, you can interrogate what errors report from the builder. All of it's in there. That's more of a deeper dive for another day. But it gives out what it wants. Now, again, this has now turned it into a full console app. So I can run builder with all the arguments, and we'll show the arguments in a minute. Or I can just say, just run, and it will run with my default arguments. Nice and easy. But we can go further, because we also mentioned we wanted to do debugging. And so to that end, I've got some code I prepared earlier. Is that I can actually go into my project then, after my using statement, because it's just good practice. I can then add some basically debug statements. So if I'm in debug, then do debug at launch. And that means that before anything starts, before anything runs, the app is still, the builder is running, but it's going to stop. And we'll see that come up. And then you can actually debug your content building, which means you'll get step-by-step process through the code, including your extensions for where issues might be there. And again, it gives you more control. You don't have to use this. This isn't going to be in the template because this is more advanced. Generally speaking, it just works. If you have problems, then you can look at this, and we'll have more content tutorials on this later on. Well, there's my builder. So running, it's got all my content, it's off and going. But right now, my project here is broken. Right, so before we jump into the project, let's see. Oh, look at that. Thank you, Mutsi. I'm live professor. Interesting. Let's go back now. Ooh, how far back are we? Well, you've been very chatty. let's see now. Okay, yes, I remember Gary talking about he wants to make it work in Atari. So I will take a moment to that. Okay, so those of you tuning in late or seeing these things, if you can, please help and support MonoGame. So whether it's a like and subscribe in these videos, or whether it's to hit the tap and the bell on Twitch. Obviously, every streamer says this. It's getting there, help us out, and also supporting. And if you can also support MonoGame directly, either through code or through chat. We have a few members who are very active, and that they, while not financially able to, they can get in there and do chat. They can actually code. So Chris is often jumping in and helping me with my website woes. I'm not a web dev. I don't write code. It's not necessarily failing, but yeah. So he helps with that out a lot, and we really appreciate all the effort and contribution he does there. It's his way of really helping supporting MonoGame. And so whether it's code, whether it's cash, or whether it's having friends who can help support MonoGame, if you're making money off MonoGame, think of us, because hopefully we helped you get there. And the other thing is point out, if you're stuck, if you've got questions on this specific stream, then go to the Code Time chat. There's separate threads set up for these. So if you think of something afterwards that you thought, I should have asked this, but I didn't, pop it in the chat into the channel, and we'll get back to you. Right, now I did say I was going to go back to chat. Yes, lots of talking going on about different things. Well, the content builder pack in mobile had NES set up. Now, I've not used NES in a while, but the content project system itself is completely new. It's just console project. So if that is how NES is building things, and if you're in chat and if you're using NES, if this is seeing me more familiar, then I guess so. If not, then no. There's been a few similar things I've seen popping up. So I know Iris Turtle and a few others set up auto building systems, which basically ran the pipeline, but they still have the same dependencies and same issues. So if unless your content builder editor and your project were synced with the version of the MonoGame they were using, everything's fine. If they weren't, they had the same problems. So changing those wouldn't help. Oh, Gary, yes. Please stay tuned. Not yet, because I'm still in talks about my things. The creator program that was originally on Xbox is back. It's in a new form. It's in a new cloak. It has a new secret identity, which you have to be in the game to know. But it is there. There are ways to use still the public way of publishing to Xbox. There's just a few different hoops and things to jump through. I am in talks with those teams about what it is, and I'm hoping upon hope, barring another reorg, to actually also get a stream and showing you, taking MonoGame game, this is how you get it onto Xbox, quick and easy. There are other ways of doing that. You can go through the ID and Xbox route and go through the console publishing program. It's a little bit more difficult and involves integrating with the GDK, which will be a lot simpler once the new DX12 pipelines come out, because that is very tightly aligned with the public GDK for publishing games. If you're publishing to Xbox, there's a few extra little things you do, but I can't talk about that because it's all under NDA. If you're in the ID Xbox program, you can talk to someone about the IDX program, but not on a public stream. It's the old, you have to be in Fight Club to know about Fight Club. Okay, what else we got? Yes, it's an enhancement they did in .NET 9. So dependency of the dependencies will not include things like target files or build dependencies. They have to be declared as what they class as build transitive elements, which is the change we need to make to our frameworks to make them work better like that. I can see why they did. I wish I had the post to show you. They did it for good reason, or well-intentions, because what they saw were cyclic dependencies, where one package was using another package, which then used another package, used the same package which you already had, and it created issues. But I can't imagine the frequency of that was that high to make such a drastic change from .NET 8, where it did work, to .NET 9 where it does not. And it's not just base .NET, it's in some revision they did. And yeah, it's so okay, we throw it up. What happened there? Weird. We're running on. So yes, dot. So we got includes. We have also got no, well, we haven't got a PSD file. Yes, so we have got a TTF. So I can exclude when, like I said, the content collection. You start with everything, and then you whittle it down and you make changes. If I wanted to change like the content processor on something, as a good example. So even though it's doing this by default, I'm going to show you this for now. So if I'm using, yes, I got to have the processors. Okay, so if like in the old editor, I want to override what the importers and the processes were, then I can override the base include. So include starts with everything, but then I'm going back and say, right, well, can you update these? And it updates the list of content that's going to process. I can say that. So for OGG files, you should be using the OGG porter and the song processor. Tom showed a bit of this in his stream. We'll have more detailed documentation about this because there's too many options to list on this. I'm trying to get things started so you have a beginning. We'll have more later. And again, that comes into the whole thing of what do you need from us to make this easier and better. I'm not going to hit that now. I'm going to have a bad use. I'm going to use it. I don't like that. Okay, we've added this exclude. If I go back to my terminal, so as you can see here now, actually, the content file, I don't know what that is, and I've got so the font file and the TTF. So .NET build and .NET run. And we look what it does now. Because I've added that debug thing, because I'm running in debug mode, ta-da! I can break into and debug. I need to turn that off because as Tom found that gets really frustrating. And why is I not doing it? After we look at that later, it's not erroring anymore. Oh, because it's telling me that I'm doing it, so I'm excluding it. It still processes it, but it's just telling you that it's not processing it. Maybe that's one thing to improve is in this output here, what it's doing. And so if I've set to a copy, it will copy because the easy way to see this is working is now that I go to now. I'll have to clean this. So if I delete that. Not my assets, just the build. And I don't run again. You can see then in the output, see, I need to remove that, else it's going to be a pain. Remove that for now. Okay, so if I go to my content project and go to my output folder, I can see my fonts. I've now just got the XMB files. Oh, well, I should have had. No, that's images file. Sorry, I've excluded the TTF, so the TTF is not copied, as we expect. And if I look at the images file, I've got my XML files been copied over. And also, yep, that's what we expected. Oh, I wonder why my font file wasn't copied. Again, check your code. Thank you, images. The font is in the fonts folder. Again, C#, case sensitive, and its name. Let's do that again. Build. See, this is what I love about live coding. You can make mistakes as long as you can come back from them. So now, there we go. Knows what the TTF, and okay, yeah, the other one stopped erroring now. So if I go back to my fonts, yes, there we go. there's font files being copied now. Until they do copy again, like I say, this doesn't check. All it does is says, right, these are the rules. This is what we're doing. We'll move on. Okay, so one of the samples we do have a JSON importer, we put it in the project. Generally speaking, I say that's be an extension. If there's sufficient demand for a JSON importer, with this new platform, that should be a lot easier to do. Simply put an issue in for a feature request, and we can certainly look at it now. But the trouble you have with JSON importers is that doing dynamic JSON in .NET is funky, and can cause issues. So generally speaking, when you're dealing with JSON, it's better to write your own code to do the importer, or you can write your own content pipeline extension to highlight it. So your two options are, in your game code, just copy the JSON file in the content, and then in your game code, you'll read that and you'll read how it's going to be. Or you can write an extension, put the extension of how it's going to interpret all these JSON files, and then it'll output what you need from there, like it does with XML. I think mainly because the variations with JSON files, it's never just as simple as key value pairs, which is nice, but yeah. Put a request in, get enough feedback, and we can think about doing it, maybe. Right, so we now have a content actually building the way we want to do. So we've got our XML files, got our font files, so our content is building, it's not going to blow up. Let's go back to our project. So our current Dungeon Land project now, if I look at the solution, so we've Dungeon Land, got MonoGame there. If I go into here now, I've got this content folder, which we don't need anymore. Let's delete it. Let's break our project completely. There we are, delete. Remove content. I've removed my content. My project will no longer build because I have no content. No, I've just deleted. I didn't want to do that. Stream, you didn't stop me in time. That's the wrong content. Dungeon Slime content. We want to delete this one. Yes. See, this is what we do. That would have been an interesting half an hour reconciliation to recreate that project again. But anyway, so at the moment our project's there, and in here, I expected a. Anyway, let's have a look at our project file now. Okay, so this is built from the 3.8.4 template now. So there's one issue in 3.8.4.1. We told you to remove this. It's in the upgrade instructions. We've detailed everything you need to do, so that should be there for a start. But at the moment, okay, so we are using this content builder task, which is what is actually using to build from the old content editor. Don't need that. And one thing that did surprise me, Chris, there is no MonoGame content reference in here, which was interesting, because I was under the apprehension you had to have that, but I don't. But anyway, because I'm building content, I need to have a reference to add a project reference to content, because obviously I need to know the Slime project. If I've got extension things there, I'm going to need to know. What? Oh, because we're in .NET 8. Okay, sorry. A .NET 9 project can talk to a .NET project. A .H project cannot talk to a .9. So let's quickly just update those to this one as well. So we're all on .9. And we also need to make sure we're all using the latest and greatest. So it's just easy for you to copy and paste. So please use the latest version of MonoGame. No, I'm not changing GUM. Wrong. Change that. What are you complaining? Content file is video. What are you talking about? Okay, why are you complaining? because I edited it in the interface and didn't do it here. So get rid of that because we're not doing that anymore. Our references, we've got our things here. Great. So if I build this, technically that will build. I won't be able to run it. Why do I care that you can't spell it? Output. There we go. Build. Why do you not have... Actually, no, I don't think we do need that. We don't have any extensions in here, so... Why are we complaining? Let's see. Let's be careful. So... D. Union slime. Content project targets. Oh. Let's do this properly. Clean and then build. And the dungeon. Clean. Why did you think? Oh, because I didn't data again. Thank you. You do in one thing, you do in another. If I run this now, I did it again. That was weird. If I run this now, it's not going to work because actually it might still work. No, it can't because we got no content. We're not told it. At the moment, our content and our game are still separate, but we have a way. So, like we have with the target project, the simplest way, if you're not going to manually copy content from one to the other, then the best way is to actually. Well, I've got those things in here. Is to do this. And this is where we're taking our content project, which is now a console project, and we're going to launch it with commands. And we're basically saying now here is that when you build, also go and run my content project. I'm not going to build it because you've pre-built and everything else. And then we're going to send it with these arguments. So -p platform. So I'm going to send the platform that my game is running on or being built for. So if you're currently building for Android, so if I'm building for Android, if I'm building for Desktop GL, it's just going to use what the project is set up for, but build content for that. So that's the question of, do we need to have a separate builder for each platform? No, because your game is going to say to the content, I want to build for Android, please, or go and build for Desktop GL. We're going to tell it where it's going to come from. So it knows it's going to look for the assets folder in the content project. If you want to have a more direct path, so if your content was in some subfolder and a submodule of part of your project, tell it to go and build it for that. It doesn't have to be in the builder project. It just makes sense from a default point. We're going to output it to the content part. That's content to. That's going to basically say, right, once you build it, include it in the built game. And then also we can specify, no, don't edit it, the temporary folder where we're going to use for when we're doing building and things like that. So if you're on some of my machines, my local development drive is sometimes, or my operating system is usually quite full of space, so I move my temp folders to storage elsewhere, which has massive as a storage. I can say temporarily build it over there and then copy it back up here. Done. And then all we're simply doing is saying in the content project, this is where it's located. If I'm doing a build or I'm doing a run it. Now here's the fun thing here. We're telling it that when I build a project, go and run my content. when I run my project and build my content, if I only want to do when I'm doing build, remove that. As it stands here, what we'll do in the template, this is going to replicate what's here today. You want to change it, again, it's completely within your remit. Run them completely separately, include this to build as part of your content project, have it only running build, only doing run, set up your own different build command for how you want to do it. So you do a content build or something when you do it. So in case you just want to keep building code but not build content, set up another target. It's all there as part of .NET. We're freeing you up to do it the way you want to do it. So now, he says, hopefully, if things are going right, if I go now debug, start new instance, we'll see from the output window it's going to go there. It's going to run the content build, see all the content being built. It's all being copied into our project, and hey, I've turned sound off my PC. So yes, Chris, I love this project. It's fantastic. The music when you've been building in that tutorial for many months can get annoying. And there, so now that's pulled all the content, all the everything else. It's all been built, the content project. And it says there, if I want to, I can go and change the content. I don't need to rebuild the actual builder here unless I change something in how my content collection. So if I add more files and everything else, I can run it, but I don't need to rebuild this, which means, and this is the critical thing here now, you design how your content is meant to be built, the rules that your artists are meant to be followed. You then give them this exe. You tell them, run this command with the content in this folder, and they go and test build the front. They get all the output things. If you want to customize how it feeds back issues with the content, this is completely in there. All into you. Obviously, but today, this is what you have to do. And for those who want to stick on now, yes, I'm an hour and a half into the stream. I was hoping to be an hour at this point. We'll stop for questions. Going back to, feel free to post them then. I'll be look there. But what we're going to do next is now you've seen the build in action. You've seen what's needed. All I need to do is, and all I should have to do is add a content project, set up any exceptions if I've got any differences, and copy my content in that folder, link it to my game, and that's it. And in future, what we'll have in probably 3.8.6, we'll update the game templates to use this as a preference. So once we got your feedback, once we get any fixes, ironed out any wrinkles that we've got in 3.8.5, this will become the official in 3.8.6. You'll still have the old one if you want to, you can then migrate, but then projects will come with this by default. You simply then change how you want to manage your content, and that by default, don't have to do anything. Exceptions, extensions, put it in there, and that's what you'll do. No more fiddling about with .NET tools. No more, have I got the right version of things? You will simply run, and it will work 100% all the time, unless you put in a corrupt file or you put a dodgy video that has some things in. But anyway, oh, Chris, thank you. Oh, I did not know that. There you go. See, the foundation will make changes, and I'm not aware. I did not know that he put that in by default. But the interesting thing is, now, although you say that, whenever I've done a project and I remove that, especially from building from source, it complains that I've not put it in. So maybe something's changed. We do all these projects, we do a lot of testing. I do a lot of work in the back end for how we build things, testing to ensure that when we do a build, we test everything. And if you want, you can really look at all our automation tasks in there. We do test it. We test the NuGets, we test solutions, we test as much as we can. And as we evolve and put the content builder in here, this allows us to a lot better than we ever were before to test how content works and get results on how that content builds. This will, I won't say revolutionize, but it's going to make things a lot simpler. Will tiles be added to the exception? No. Especially for the foreseeable future, MonoGame follows the XNA standard. There's a good reason for that, is because we're staying true to the original, but it also means that anything you built in XNA works in MonoGame. But this is where the community comes in. So MonoGame.extended, fantastic library, has a lot of content in there for working with tiled or other tiled-like things, and has extensions in there for building content and how they're used. I'm sure Chris, if I'd let him, would have put MonoGame extended into the 2D tutorial. We said no, because it's supposed to be MonoGame, but you can see and do things in there. So for your new tile, that goes the same for any kind of other extension or framework and thing. You can add more to MonoGame far easier than can do with a lot of other frameworks and things. Yep, if you're building from source, you really are building no health bar. I will do a stream about using the new binaries release. So in 3.8.5, we started building binaries. So that means you can completely offline your building development process. You didn't need to use NuGets, which was a savior for things like automation. But it's a different way of looking at it and working with it. There are a few little gotchas if you don't work with it. Oh, there we go. See, Chris is in there. He's pimping his framework. If you don't know, Alex Turtle Dev or Chris, he took over control of MonoGame Extended some months ago, and it's been getting a lot of attention, a lot of love. And if you can, and you're building with MonoGame Extended your project, also think about supporting Chris and the work he's doing. He's donating his time, helping feed his family and put the lights on, is all we can ask. But yeah, MonoGame Extended just did a huge revamp of their particle system, their 2D particle system, and a full editor for doing that. Tile is getting a similar overhaul and working in it. Right, so those who are still with me going on, I'm still continuing on because I've got work to do here. So you've seen the content builder system, how it's going in, but I'm not stopping here. We built out here what is now a good clean template, but that's not what we put there today. So I need to go to my source, and we need to find the MonoGame template. Why have I got changes in there? So, because that was my previous work in it. So I finished all the .NET 9 updates. I need to go to here. I need to clean out anything I'm doing. Okay, when I'm doing this, revert. Oh. Why put some options in there and not others? No, there's nothing changed. Okay, fine. And I'll get to your question shortly. I just want to get in a good state here. More options, open with code. Right. I'm ready. So, Ultimate Ooms. Full names. Yes. Effectively now, we're taking MonoGame back to how XNA used to be, where there was a simpler project. Now, XNA did some funky things, right or wrong, and how they did it. It was a different project type, but it was sort of embedded in their project, so it was handled differently. They did some funky things. They did things you didn't need to do. And as we've evolved and as .NET has evolved and frameworks evolved, there's no need to keep embedding things like that. Your content is your content. It's always going to be separate. They did have also a content project, which you could do and refer to, but it made life tricky. This, we're getting rid of the complexity. We're making it as easy as possible. Your content is built by one project. Your game is built by another. And if you put them together at the end of the day, once you've built, you have your game, or your content and your game running together as one. How you do it and how you do it now is more in your control than ever. And for those who are just starting, when the game template's updated, you'll never know that there was a difference. And we'll update our tutorials and make things all pretty again. But we are not removing the old content editor for a simple reason. There are thousands of projects or more still using that old way. Those things have to continue to work. MonoGame always persists that if it worked before, if it's worked over the last 10 years, it will work tomorrow. The things we're adding are always going to be next things, things you can add, things you can switch to and change, but we're not breaking them. But if you stay on the old, you have to live with the old. If you move to the new, you get all the benefits, enhancements of things that we're doing new. But anyway, back to it. Oh, look at this. It's gone back down small again. Oh, no, wrong window. I've just made my streaming editor. No. No. What have I done there? Oh, that's terrible. Oh, I've made that. Okay, I'm not going to deal with that now. Let's go in. Hopefully, we're still streaming live. So, get rid of all that. This is the MonoGame templates repo. This is where all of our templates are. And as you can see here now, we've got the existing content builder project, which is what we used at the beginning of the stream. And we're going to clean this up. So as you can see, now we've got the separate folders and different things are here. So we noted we removed. We don't need this .config folder anymore. I don't know why I had that there before. We do need this because this tells NuGet and also .NET what the project is, what the names are. I don't think there's anything I need to change in here. Yeah, we're still not settled on the name, but anyway. That's fine there. We don't need anything in the name programs. We'll still leave this as is. You have something you have to change as and when you build a product. I want it to be a .NET 9 project. So that's changing. We're not going to change, even though it's fixed in a version, the way the two templates work is they're fixed when you're going in. So when you're using this for real, and you're using this new template, you will need to make sure you fix the version to match the version that you're working with. Only while we're in the develop range, we'll do work to update it later. Because if I set this to develop.12, that's already going to be out of date because I'm going to do develop.13, which will have the new templates in. Okay, so we've got that, we got that. Now, what we started with is we had a assets folder. Oops, no. Assets. And because .NET and code doesn't like empty folders, I am going to add in a readme.txt. And we'll simply put a note in here. Your nice, clear, just doesn't need to do anything. Okay, so there's that. Okay, and we've got an assets folder. So now we need our builder because we're going to match what we had before, and I'm just going to effectively replicate what we did earlier. So I'm going to change this to builder. You know, I'm not going to bother with that because I've got a working file that we've done tweaks and changes on, so I'm going to delete that for now. But in the builder, okay, we don't need that. We do need those, although obviously, yes, no, they're fine. Oh no, nearly got you. Well, let's focus on this. We'll come back to that. So ignore the fact that you got lots of errors in here. That comes with things, but I'm basically going to make sure the fact that we have a working version here. I'm just going to copy it. But obviously, only the things that I need. So I'm going to copy all of this for now. We're going to have that. We're going to have that all the way up to here. Go away, and then we're going to simply replace all of this. There. Ignoring those because it's not a generated project; it's a template. It's going to complain. So we know this all works. Now, obviously, not every game is going to have XML files to copy and font files. We want the defaults. And I believe now, I did have a conversation with Harry here that it's better to use the wildcard rule first. Not. Okay, now we'll change this one because this is there's something he did. As you saw, the regex. You can use regex or you can use wildcards. We need to do more documentation and things like this to make it clearer. And obviously, right now, There. So when you build, no, don't go away in IntelliSense. I don't need that right now. Like we do with the content profiles, give me your instructions in the template. So if you're adding content, put them here. Search the assets folder for there. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Adding custom. So nice simple instructions. When I create the project, it's going to get these templates in, and that's going to go in. Now we already know this code works because we've got it working in the existing project. We've copied everything in that we had before. So we're in Builder. Yes, some of you may know. No doubt when you're playing with this, you'll know that mode has another option. I'm not going to cover it now because that's well beyond the scope of what we're doing, and I need some more time to play with it. So that was that. But obviously, we did make one other change. So in our content project, because of also the issue we talked about with dependencies and not working right, we do need in the default template all of these. Else it's not going to work. Your projects are going to fail. And they're going to complain because they're missing dependencies, and they're, oh, where's this? Why did Simon not put this into here already? So we are going to put them in. Okay, it's on the package references in the item group. That's all compiled right there. That should be it. So now, when you do a .NET new MGCB and set your project, this is what you're going to get. We're going to get all the references. So let's set things up. We are going to have a builder definition. We've got two usings. Just double check. We have two usings. We're going to work directly with our base directory of our project. We're looking for the assets folder in the assets project for this. Let's collapse all those. This is me. This is being uber careful. So it's going to come from the assets in the Edge project. There will be a folder with a text file. There's no content in it. Text file should be ignored by default. Well, that should be it. Now, I'm going to do this because this is not working right. Rookie mistake. Let's hope this doesn't burn me. I may change it to this, but there are actually 5 updates since I last looked at this. No. Noob mistake. But, fair not. See, whenever you're doing a PR, this is something that can easily clear you up. Right. Changes we've made to this since I did this. So, I'm going to go back to here. That's the template I've changed. Template, I'm going to have to reverse everything. You don't have a reverse in there. Thank you. I didn't pull. See, rookie error. If you're going to make changes to a repository or anything else, and you're switching things to branches, you must always make sure you synchronize and pull what the latest state is. There. I was behind. Rookie mistake. Right. Now you can copy it. Let's say copy this. Go into here, C# content, and I want to get rid of the old. I'm removing it completely just because. Why do I need to administrate privileges? Because I've got it open. Doesn't like it because I've got it open. Yeah, thank you. And I'm going to paste. Go back. Now, why is the changes to that? Oh, no change that. Okay, that's just. Oh, we will find out in a minute. So, open with code again. See, me making mistakes live on air. So we're running up to 2 hours now. I want to get done. See, it's nearly 5 o'clock here in the UK, and I'm going to need my dinner. So, as everyone covered in other things, One, yes, making sure you're syncing to date. We want to create a new branch. Try and be descriptive at all points. So between the branch that I'm changing and I'm going to upload, the changes I'm going to make, and the commit message related to those changes are all have to be very descriptive, explaining what I'm changing, why I'm changing it, and so on and so forth. Because then whoever's reviewing it understands. Then, okay, now I'm going to make sure I close all of these. And I'm double checking now, before I'm submitting this change, what has changed. So why that's showing as a change, I don't know. Well, that's still there. The native file is there. I'm adding additional references. You're gone, you're gone, you're gone. Goodbye, Chrome. I do not want you. I've got a reading file. Obviously, I can't check empty folders into Git. There has to be something. And so if you want a folder, you need to have a file in it. You have a readme file which says, please put your assets in here. And then we've got our new builder file, which has our two usings, and all of that matches. So yes, I've got, if I pass arguments, I'm going to run arguments. If not, I'm going to run the default. Feel free to change the default. So if you're building a Windows DX project, then yes, you're going to change that to Windows. Your default will build for Windows. If you're doing a multi-product project, you're going to be building it for your project as it is. If you're running from automation, then you're going to change from a command line level what you're building. Again, all news. I've got the return line in case it fails, and then I've got my content builder definition here, all in one class. No fuss. And we are creating a collection, adding all files, and then sending them to be built, including instructions. So by default, everything will be imported. Custom rules, add below. Always add your custom rules after you've included everything, because you're changing. You've filled your shopping cart, then you're changing your items. You're not changing your items and you put them in the cart, because that doesn't work. We've tried. But that's everything I changed. There's nothing I didn't. The the 3.5. And we're going to do it. I'm going to merge this because I can merge my game. I shouldn't. But for full traceability, there's my branch in. I'm going to create my pull request. So yes, I'm going into the main branch. I'm doing this feature. And again, my commit explains what I'm doing. My summary text for the PR explains what I'm doing and why. So, sent content. It was out of date. This PR updates the template with the photo. It's funny because I'm writing a PR for myself, and I'm just going to accept it myself and say, pat myself on the back and review it and say, yeah, that was very good. Changes. So, again, even though we put this assets folder in the template, you don't have to have your assets there. It can be wherever you want on your machine. Sorry. Oh, so there we go. Yes, but not yet. And that's not on you, Chris. That's on us as the foundation. Because this is a major change, but it's not going to be for a while. If anything else, we'll have to have another document which describes doing this, which I'm going to have to write. And then at some point later on, once the content builder becomes the new default, then yes, we'll have to change that. You're not alone. There is a bit of content in the shader tutorial. We'll have to trim as well. Oops. Oh, okay. Oh, no, I've already read that. I'm just making sure someone mentioned this. I can't regret doing this now. I put a question in of whether the time for the stream worked for everybody, because obviously daylight savings, for those who have or don't have it, is that in the UK and in the US, we move forward an hour and lose an hour's sleep as summer begins. And then in November or end of October, November, the clocks go back, we gain an hour's sleep, but it means our time zones shift through the day. I'm not going to get a debate on which works or not, only that's where it is now. Our streams, when we began, were at 4 o'clock in the UK, which was British summertime, which aligned with a lot of time zones. But then we got into winter and the clocks went back. 2 weeks later, then the US also went back, which means now all of our content and streams are now an hour earlier for our US cousins. And we were asking, should we change? Now people can play about it. We've changed. I'm not going into the way. We've changed notifications, so you only get notifications if you ask. Anyway, right. So that's in, ready for thread of delivery. Get my grammar. I'm going to create that PR. Okay, and I'm then going to go and view that PR. And me being me, yep, okay, I have a PR. This is what we do. We take a look at the PR, we read the description, check it, make sure that the changes match what the description are. Ooh, Connect Donut Tools. We didn't mention that description, but I do know we want to get rid of that. So we've got assets folder, builder folder with that. We've got project, file definition, and these two files have got, oh, I see they've moved to there. Yes, I agree with that. Sorry. Oh, wait, no. I can't approve my own PR, so I can't do this now. So expect this very soon. I've approved. I'm going to have to nudge one of my because once this PR is merged, then I need to go back to MonoGame, update the checkout, because this is in what we call a submodule. So it's a linked, so we've got the main MonoGame repository here, the template repository over here. So at the moment, it's pointing up here. I've created a PR for a new state and time. So then once this is merged, I need to say to MonoGame, right, now use this. And now use that, and then I'll kick off another build with the fixes that were in there recently. And oh, if it's doing some builds, we should wait for that to work anyway. But let's bring this stream to a close, as it were. Wow, I don't know if it's my machine or Restream. It's been funky today. So, thank you everyone for joining today. As the saying goes, where are we? Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're following on YouTube, if you're on Twitch, hit that bell and get following, so you'll be notified of any things, and also it adds to our viewer count, our subscriber count. Watch these videos endless on ends. Apparently we get extra credit for watching more. And as ever, if you can, it's not a demand, but we are open source. We rely from a funding aspect from the community and from donors and things to help us keep the pace that we have been doing money in the last year. We've had so many changes, and we started the beginning of last year We had over 75 PRs and things. Oh, hello. Oh, see now. Okay, there. Look at that. Thank you, Square. He was obviously on the stream and noted that I was doing that, but didn't note it in the stream for him to notice. Thank you. Right, but I can quickly fix that. Because VS Code is also on the web in here. So I'm in the PR. I can see the further changes and I can go, right. So someone noted that I did something wrong. Look at that, I nearly merged a fault. But we can go in here and look, there's his comment. So that's not closed because we have a closure here, but you're right, this should be closed. I did notice that when I originally think, but it didn't. It must have corrected it. Interesting. Okay, so I can go back to my commit. There we are. Full credit Square for putting that out. Look at that. Just the dying. Oh no, I'm not. I did it again. I did it last time. I'm doing it now. So if I go back to the PRS, live on stream, this is Editing Goes. So Square Bananas noted in the PR, thank you for reviewing it, that I had not closed this packet reference, or it was broken originally. Now, for some reason, it fixed it itself automatically in my local tests. But obviously, in the template, it's still broken. I had noted that in the past, and I forgot about it. But again, community URLs. There's Square's contribution to MonoGame for this week. Thank you, Square. Right. That's fixed. So there we go. And I'm going to hide that. There's no other suggestions. Oh, okay. No. Look at this. No, see, this is the realm within. So content. The Copilot, they got all AI. I said we should really rename that. And you know what? Good about usually checking, usually manually change these things. But sometimes it's a case of it's suggested a change. I can just commit that change. It also gives you a nice description of what it's changing. So there you go. Both Square and AI have helped to review this PR. Off it goes. What can we do? What can we do? But anyway, I'm closing this stream. It's gone now again. There we go. It's nearly 2 hours. Oh, the time really does fly. But as we're saying, feel free to follow our donate page. If you can support us, please do. If you're making oodles of money, please think of us here. Although all of us donate our time, some of us are paid members to try and secure hours so we can work in this. So myself, Dom, and Tom, we do get funding for working this, which means that this explains why we have so much acceleration in the framework of late. So many issues have been fixed. We've hammered down the PRs from 70 odd down to 20. I had it below 20, and then people going putting more in. We love it because there's more contributions. Oh, look at that. I can actually merge that. I think that's right now. Let's look at this. The stream that will never end. So yeah, that's gone. That's in there. We've got code. We know that code works because we copied directly from the project, and our CS project is now probably. Well, see, in fact, that problem. Now interesting. Why was that not before? Anyway, that's now all working. If I view the file, you can see yes, that's probably terminated. That's terminated by that. These are terminated like there. Good. Those are gone. Okay, fine. I think I'm happy. It'll all come out of the wash because if and when I get to MonoGame, it will fail. But I can actually now merge this now because I think I've had approval. I've got to merge that. I'll have to make clean it. Okay, oh, right. We nearly escaped with that thing, but we need to go back. So we've updated our template. I'm going to go to MonoGame. Now, I can't really do this in the web editor. It's possible, but it's not healthy. So I've got my MonoGame repo. It's in develop, yes. Revert, because why is it showing changes? Because I did a build. Okay, and I'll make sure I also doing a clean. We make sure we have a clean workspace at the beginning of the day. I don't need to use my recycle bin because I'm not doing that. I'm going to sync and pull. Give me the latest state of develop. Good. And then I'm going to update my checkout. Open code. So yeah, okay, let's see what I was working on last. Zoomies. Okay, with this, right. So as I'm using VS Code, one feature I do like about VS Code over full Visual Studio is that the source control view is a lot more flexible and easy to use. Now, I'm only going to change checkouts that I want to. So templates is the one I do. There's actually 4 incoming changes. If I click on this, I can see that, yes, this is a result of builds where as builds have gone on, it changes now. Yes. That gets updated every single build. Oh, why is it showing? Oh, why is it showing local changes to that repo? So, because I built it locally, so I need to discard all my local changes. Even though I've cleaned out my main repo, all my submodules and repos are repos, they're still in the state they were. I could go through and clean them all. I can click on each of these, and you'll see what local changes I've got. Oh, okay, it's only templates. So I need to pull the changes in. And what this is doing now, this is, like I said, this is the change I'm making first. Before it was here, this was what the current state of the templates were. And now I'm going to change it to my new, where I've just done my latest update. It's now going to point to here. So now when it looks at this, it sees it in. I can see this is all the changes that are in there. So there's my content builder change. There's that. Okay. There's a patch for the missing iOS versions. Yes, I remember doing that. I also did update the minimum required for iOS to 12.2 and updated the Android required. So when we did a 4.1 change, we did a fair amount of updates and things in there. So that we do. Well, this is using on this. That was running on that release branch. Our main develop branch hadn't caught up to that, so that's what we're doing. And once this is in, once this is merged, that will form the new release, which is develop.13. Is it going to be good? Or the content builder is going on 13? Who knows? But anyway, that's fine. But obviously, then I need to go back to here. I'm going to follow the proper process. No, well, is I need to create a new feature branch. And spell template right. There. I could, as an admin, simply push that into the repo, and where there have been times we've done that, generally speaking, we don't, because working as a collaboration with the rest of the members, we always double check each other's work, even though it's something simple like this, which is just a template update. We might just push it in. It's better to be safe than sorry. Then again, I'm going to create a PR. So I'm going to push this branch because I also want to list out what the other changes are. So this isn't just updating the content builder project for development, at least, because there's the 3.8.4.1 release, which also did some template updates. for things like .NET 9 for iOS, for Android. So now that we're also including this into the main development branch, we need to also state that that's what we're doing. And then making it clear from documentation practice and also from traceability, everything's on the up. We're not trying to sneak anything in, trying to change anything. And this is what we're always checking for in PRs, to ensure that you're doing exactly what you say and changing only those things that a PR is actually targeting. Changes. So Android work. Okay, the fix the updating the reason we didn't, and we also did this. And last but not least, why can I not spell template? There. Okay, well this is where I'm going to leave that because that's ready now, and I'm going to pass this off to my foundation buddies. PR reviews. Including again, you can't see this, but yes. No, good. Copilot agrees with me. Yes, everything is always on the up and up and on board. There. Right. I am going to end the stream now. Oh, we're here. We're having fun. We're going forward. So I hope you've enjoyed this. So we've done a big deep dive into the whole new content project system, how it's going to, I won't say revolutionize, it's going to make everyone's life a lot easier, reducing the amount of complexity that we have in the system for building content, making the content pipeline more approachable, and also, as an extension, making content pipeline extensions easier to use and debug and work with. Especially to all our library developers out there, we hope you get involved and start testing things out, ready for the 3.8.5 release, and then we can sort of hammer this out with real-world projects and things and see how it stands up, and if there's any more things we need to fix and or tweak. And if you have suggestions and improvements, then please, by all means, send through a PR request. Send through an issue request or a feature request for how you'd like things to improve. Chat to us on the Discord. We're going to be around even for this stream. And between us all, we'll make sure the fact that content is safe and is easy to use, he says. And with that, I'd like to call this jury to a close. And I shall see you all on Thursday.